A long time ago in 793 AD, a few men wandered through the wilderness, all coming from the town of Nagagakyo, believing it to be cursed by demons, murderers, and other ungodly entities, decided to search for a new home away from their accursed village. Soon, however, they discovered a large plot of land nestled snugly between two rivers and guarded by cascading mountains that defended the land from any harm or woe. These weary travelers had just discovered a paradise of fertility, a new home for them to call their own, a city that would go by the name of Kyoto, a city that would go from a peaceful plateau to a dystopian system of hive cities that only exist to feed the ongoing war between the monarchist Japanese and the communist Americans. Hello everyone, and welcome to Rise of Nations. I often never recommend RTSs because of how time-consuming they can be and the lack of brain power I possess to understand what a proper formation looks like. However, I can always recommend Rise of Nations. It's an RTS cleverly disguised as a civ builder, incentivizing you to conquer as much land as you can in order to obtain more materials so that you can construct bigger armies to achieve absolute world domination. For this video, I'll go over the general mold of what makes Rise of Nations a fun yet challenging game. So why don't we start off with the third word in the title. All the different nations hold their individual buffs, with the only downsides being how you play them. My personal favorite nation is Japan, namely because I am just obsessed with their culture. Not this one, this one. The power of honor is completely unique to the Japanese. Any unit that you produce using a barracks is 7% cheaper, and the speed of which barracks are produced is 10% cheaper for each age, including military technology research, meaning you can pump out cities to produce more and more barracks to create your unstoppable imperial army. This also includes units having 5% damage against buildings, being able to completely negate the need for siege engines if you create a large enough horde. Ships are 10% cheaper and aircraft carriers are produced 33% faster, making Japanese aircraft carriers the fastest unit to produce in-game. Japan as a country is filled with a rich, captivating history that, although has its Chinese roots, found itself to be uniquely Japanese with their food culture. The average diet consisting of nothing but the finest rice, fish, cheap alcohol, and animated pornography. This makes farms in Japan 50% cheaper, with fishermen as well as farms producing 25% more resources. With all of these buffs combined, this makes Japan the strongest starting faction in the game, and I highly recommend you play them if you want to play a weeaboo power fantasy. They're vast, they're cheap, and most importantly, they're communist. The Chinese nation has their buffs focused on one thing and one thing only: overpopulation. Because they're producing factories worth of children, citizens, caravans, and merchants are all produced instantly, with your starting city being a large one, only being available to other nations if they reach the medieval age, with every other city that you discover, regardless of age, becoming a large one. Any research involving medicine is completely free, and to add insult to injury, all research is 20% cheaper. China is the perfect way to min-max your industry and piss everyone off. You can endlessly spawn civilians to work the essential jobs, creating massive cities to plow more farmland, and with all this being said, they're overpowered as shit for their cheap research. In my game, I was conquering Native Americans with muskets and artillery formations before they even learned what the economy was. The Mongolians are the best faction for early game conquest. Their buffs are focused around cavalry assaults and how much land you're able to obtain within a short amount of time. When you construct a stable as the Mongolians, you obtain their unique unit, the Nomad. The Mongolians have an ability to where if you attack other nations, attrition is brought down by 50%. Any research involving foraging, supply, and logistics being absolutely free. Now that we have all the players together, it's time to discuss logistics. The main goal of the early game is to establish yourself as a thriving nation. Farms produce food, woodcutters produce wood, and miners produce controversy. These three materials are your most important asset in the early game, from building barracks, farms, temples, and more, with the only way to achieve better buildings being through research. These four main icons are known as your scientific disciplines. disciplines. Military gives you a bigger population limit, civic allows you to build more cities, commercial increases your commerce limit, and science gives you extra research speed with greater access to different research milestones. Milestones just being a fancy word for your general studies and units you can research, from crop rotations to particle colliders. But as you start advancing through the world and as an empire, you'll soon need to get yourself some granaries and sawmills. These are known as industries. When you have an industry in your city, it will bolster the production of the selected resource by 25%. Perhaps one of the best nations that you can play as if you want to use factories is Germany. Germany has the power of industry, which grants them some very insane buffs. Industry upgrades being 50% cheaper, as well as them being available sooner. Your buildings having the time they're constructed halved. Any city you have will have a +5 to its base resources, boosting efficiency. And with industries being available sooner, technically makes it to where you can have sawmills in the ancient era, which, let's be sounds like an Ancient Aliens bit. Remember what I said about Japanese aircraft carriers? That was a lie. Germany can produce bombing ships and submarines 33% faster, as well as 25% cheaper. All air units are produced 33% faster. With each new airbase you produce, you get 2 free fighters. Germany is by all means broken. There is ultimately no line to how far you're able to go with your nation, but one thing to consider beyond how you line your pockets with gold and silver is how you spend it. The military and the wonders of the world are where most of your hard-earned and admittedly hard-taxed money is going to be shoveled into. If you're not nerd-maxing, that is. The military is the most important thing to discover and construct as early as the ancient age. If you want to survive long enough to understand what a light bulb is, you need to construct a standing army. Most games that I play being on the mode survival of the fittest, completely disabling peace options, and making life for anyone living between two nations a very living hell. Producing infantry is crucial to victory. However, there's also navy, cavalry, artillery, airplanes, tanks, and even the wrath of 1,000 suns. And don't even get me started on all the countries that have their unique units. Japan has samurai and gun samurai, the Mongolians have countless cavalry, China has fire lances, Germany has SS divisions along with leopard and tiger tanks, more specifically the Tiger II from Girls on Panzer. There is truly no end to the different combinations you can have with all the nations you choose from, but with each age comes their very wonder. All wonders of the world have their own abilities if you construct them or take them from your neighbor. The Terracotta Army creates 1 unit of military every few minutes. The Super Collider manipulates the economy. The Forbidden City gathers more resources, with the only cost being that it is a whole ass city. And if you collect enough wonder points, you'll win because you have the most aura out of any other nation for having the pyramids, Colosseum, and a space program all within 3 neighborhood blocks. But to discover these powers, you need knowledge. To obtain such a thing, read a book every now and again. Scholars are your way to obtain knowledge that bring you closer and closer to each age, in every piece of research requiring it, especially in the so lovingly dubbed the Age of Information, where all of your scientific disciplines are replaced with 4 mega disciplines: missile shields, world government, global prosperity, and AI. Missile shields make it to where you can withstand enemy missile attacks, be it conventional or nuclear. Global prosperity brings your commerce limit up to 999%, with every industry you own being bolstered by 25%. And AI is the wet dream of any insane person with a grimdark world-building fetish. AI allows any and all military units to be produced immediately, allowing you to produce vast legions that can swarm entire nations so that they can be assimilated into your empire. They send legions. I send armies. But there is one science that I hate the most, and saved for its very own section. World government is specifically made for people that don't like fun whatsoever and just want to ruin the game with their abhorrent gameplay style of petty idiocy. World government makes it to where all timers, regardless of what they're connected to, complete instantaneously. So if you want to play an actually fun game of Warhammer 40k proportions, do not research this. You will win if you simply take down a city. You will win if you step on another nation's lawn. But most importantly, as soon as world government is done being researched, it causes all nations that aren't in an alliance to go to war with one another. If you got far enough to research world government, then it's likely you and other players have developed nuclear weapons. Anytime a nuke is fired off, you are given an Armageddon countdown. 25 chances to not turn the Earth into a fiery hellscape. And if you don't listen and decide to heed these warnings, then all of the powers in the game will lose, turning the Earth into post-rebellion Krieg. So why would I be so angry about world government when this is clearly my concern? It basically causes the AI to go retarded and start firing at each other with nukes. And when it comes to novice players that don't know how to manage their nukes, things can end in a very, very grimdark manner. And even if you're playing with one AI in your lobby, things can end horribly when the nukes start flying. And you will essentially ruin the game if you currently launched a few nukes and decided to research world government. So all in all, never touch this goddamn button or I will personally put a pipe bomb in your mailbox. But beyond my pissed off rant, Rise of Nations is a very fun game. In my sophomore year of high school during the end of the year, I brought my laptop to school and decided to play 2 different games, Victoria 2, Cyberpunk, or a quick game of Rise of Nations. And when I mean quick, I mean incredibly quick. Any and every game that you decide to play will be about 2 hours. A nice little civilization builder that also gives you some good RTS aspects. A nice little bite-sized game that I find myself playing every now and again because I just want to. Rise of Nations has a very, very unique place deep in my heart, and I highly recommend you play it. I have been Jason V101, and I hope you all like, comment, and subscribe, and you are all beautiful people.
Fucking Socrates